We discuss two of the DC Comics attractions that nearly came to Universal Orlando as we focus on Islands of Adventure on episode 354 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, I'm your host. I am Lee Wayne, and joining me is Tracy Kyle, aka Catwoman.
Meow.
Darren and Chris aren't here again this week.
Still adventuring.
Now, I know we said a couple of weeks ago that we said we were going to continue our look into the attractions at Marvel Superhero Islands. We covered Hulk and Stormforce Accelatron on 352, and then the plan was to do Spider-Man and Doctor Doom this week, but with Darren and Chris not being here, and I know they really want to be they really want to be a part of that show. So we're going to do something sort of staying in that realm, but a little bit different. And that was to talk about two of the attractions that nearly came to Islands of Adventure when Marvel Superhero Island wasn't going to be Marvel Superhero Island. It was going to be, I don't know, do you think they had a name for it?
Probably
DC
not.
Island or whatever. Well, it was Gotham, I think Gotham City and Metropolis.
Yeah.
And those two attractions were namely the Batwing and an untitled Superman 3D ride. And I will credit Theme Park University for this information because I got it all from their website. So we will begin and talk about the Batwing.
Yes, we will. As we discussed in our last IUA Focus episode, Marvel Superhero Island was very nearly based on DC Comics rather than Marvel Comics. Now, several years before the Marvel deal was sealed, Universal pitched ideas to DC Comics to explore whether they would be open to expanding their presence in theme parks.
I wish they had been.
Yeah, me too.
Batman had already been seen in his own attraction in Six Flags theme parks for about a year already when Universal first showed their interest in bringing Batman to their parks in his own themed attraction there. Now, as the Incredible Hulk coaster is to Marvel Superhero Island, the Batwing was to be the signature coaster in Universal Orlando's new theme park.
Now, interestingly enough, especially considering what went in to the Lost Continent, the Batwing was going to be a dueling coaster that would have gone through 3 huge show buildings. According to some concept art from the Goddard Group, guests would choose to either ride in Penguin Flyer.
Oh my God.
Fighter, sorry. Or Batman's Batwing Flyer. Controlled by computers, the 2 cars move through the ride with a choreographed precision that makes for high-speed, twin-track acceleration.
And that concept art there, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be because it doesn't look like anything I know from Batman.
No.
Now, we're assuming that about this time, this will have been, the early 90s, so we're expecting these would have been themed around Tim Burton's.
I would imagine so, yeah. I'd have been happy with that. Big fan of the original one.
Dated quite quickly. Saying that Marvel Superhero
I was just going to say, do you not think that Marvel Superhero Island's dated?
I suppose, yeah. Now, Theme Park University wrote, as we've kind of just already discussed, at this time Batman Returns starring Danny DeVito as the Penguin was in production with Warner Brothers Studios and would be released right around the time these concepts were being developed. Universal was clearly trying to license a very popular property that was a smash hit with the original Batman movie starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson that was released in 1989. So yes, it would. The thing is, for me, right, how do you do Tim Burton Gothic Gotham City in a theme park environment in like broad Florida sunshine?
Well, yeah.
The only way you could have done it,
and
you've never seen anybody do it until we got Nocturne Alley,
would be
it would have
covered
been
area.
just unheard of to do an entirely covered over theme park area.
Yeah.
But that's, or make sure that you keep it open late at night when it's dark, otherwise it wouldn't work.
No.
Because even during the day in Gotham City, it's all dark and dingy in those Tim Burton films. So you would never have quite got that feel for it. I suppose you could have done in the attractions, I suppose, because if they're like the themed domes, but as far as the actual land itself, it wouldn't have done.
No. So before entering the queue, guests would choose which side they wanted to represent, either Batman or the Penguin. Again, 2 pieces of concept art state that the rides would embark from far below the surface of Gotham City, and each queue would have been completely different. The Batwing side from the Batcave, and the Penguin From the Penguin Subterranean Realm.
Jesus.
That's so bad.
The Penguin. Isn't that how Benedict Cumberbatch says penguin?
Penguins.
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 Penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so weird, isn't it? But it would have been cool to go in the Batcave. Like, who doesn't, as a comic book fan, who doesn't want to go in the Batcave? It's one of the most iconic things ever anywhere.
Absolutely.
And it looks pretty cool from that concept art.
It looks really good, actually.
I say I'll post the link to the Theme Park University articles for both these attractions in the show notes, because the artwork's there. You know, this is how far they got on with these attractions, that they were storyboarded. So yeah, the design for the coaster was a suspended coaster. Now, I learnt something new here. Not an inverted coaster. Now, I thought they were the same thing, but apparently not. So the difference between a suspended coaster is that a suspended coaster has a car suspended beneath the track, whereas an inverted coaster is open feet, like a hanging, dangling, like Dragon Challenge, Dueling Dragons was an inverted coaster. I'm trying to think if we've got anything in Orlando that's a suspended coaster then. No, not that I can think of.
Not that I can think of.
They're usually kiddie coasters.
I can't think of any suspended coasters. Anywhere?
They're usually kiddie coasters if they're suspended. Like Zoom, that aeroplane flying thing at Flamingo Land will be a suspended coaster.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Crappy kids ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason being that suspended coasters, the reason for it being a suspended coaster and not an inverted one was the fact that at the time of the original pitch, inverted coasters hadn't even been seen.
Well, there you go then.
So of course it wouldn't.
So they weren't a thing.
But at the time they were being designed by B&M for Six Flags.
Okay.
And there's a little picture we've got there of it, and it looks pretty awesome actually.
Does indeed. They both do. Oh, the penguin one's just a penguin.
Well, yeah. What did you want it to be?
That's funny.
So the penguin fighter cars,
I know.
Would have had guns perched on either side of the vehicle, and that's because the original idea was for riders to soar through Gotham City and literally do battle with each other.
How cool.
Which were an interactive suspended coaster is awesome.
So much fun. In another piece of concept art, we can see two rider vehicles heading towards each other above Gotham City, and it states that the fighters engage in the first of 3 exterior aerial dogfights that result in head-on sequences, bringing passing vehicles within inches of each other.
It sounds incredibly familiar, by the way.
Yeah, that does look really cool. Can you imagine that, like coming out of buildings and going across where everybody's walking?
An actual street, would have been phenomenal.
That would have been awesome.
I love how that building's Max Schreck's, by the way.
Yeah, that's so cool. At certain points in the attraction, as stated previously, riders would have been able to actually fire their weapons at various elements located in the show scenes. One show scene, which would have been the Riddler's warehouse. Cool. This area would have been all in black light, and as guests fired the guns to destroy the warehouse, giant question marks would fall down towards the coaster cars in several near-miss moments.
It sounds just like, and there's a concept art for it. Black light, again, that would have dated really, really quickly. Like, who used black light in attractions? Now, you look at something like The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, where it kind of works for Winnie the Pooh, but to put it in something Batman-oriented, it would have felt really weird.
Yeah.
I think a black light would have worked better for the Joker, actually.
Yeah.
Rather than the Riddler. But I know Andy will be happy that there would have been a Riddler reference in there.
Yes.
So yeah, as we know, this DC Comics deal did not come to fruition, but as they say in theme parks, a good idea never goes away. And from what we've read here, a lot of these ideas were implemented into Dueling Dragons. You know, the near-miss thing, the inverted coaster, not a suspended coaster. So, you know, for all it went away. And of course, that's not with us anymore either.
Nope.
So yeah, a Batwing coaster. It seems all right. I think I want to get into it more when we go through the Superman one, because writing these show notes, I have my thoughts on these two attractions.
The concept art looks great. How it would have actually played out in real life, I'm not quite sure.
Like, did it say... I'm trying to go back now. Did it say projection domes?
I don't recall.
3 huge show buildings.
Yeah.
Now, a coaster going through show buildings isn't something we've seen. I can't think...
Rip Ride Rocket
doesn't go through a show building. Where the hell does that go through a show building?
We go in and out of a building.
It's not a show building.
Ooh, all right. We get knickers in a knot.
Gringotts and Forbidden Journey, the mummy isn't really... Because it doesn't... I'm trying to figure out whether it would have gone outside and then into another show building. It would have been weird. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I don't think the Tim Burton aesthetic works well for a theme park area. I think you can theme the show buildings, you can theme the queue, but then if it did go outside, you'd lose that theme. And it's like everyone complains about Test Track over at Disney, that all the theming's inside, and then once you get through that end bit, you're like, oh, look, cast member parking lot, backstage at Disney. And I think it would have been very similar to that. So, I don't know. You know me, I'm a massive DC Comics fan, but that I wouldn't have been overly... Like, I love the Hulk coaster, and I think it fits better into Marvel Superhero Island than something like that would have done.
I'll be honest, I've always been excited by the thought of having a real-life Gotham to walk through, but now I'm thinking about it.
You'd have to do it like Nocturne Alley.
If you did it the way that the parks are being built when they were built, it wouldn't work, no matter which director's vision of Gotham it was.
No, because Gotham, it doesn't...
Because it needs to be dark and gritty and dirty, and it can't be because of the Florida sun. So unless it was an indoor area...
Which ride is... You would get...
But you did... I'm talking about...
You get that disconnect between the attraction and the land itself.
But I'm talking about the land.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You
not
would
the
get
ride.
That disconnect of coming out of the attraction into...
So I'm actually starting to think that they made the right choice.
I don't, but we'll get there.
Okay.
It's weird only having two of us.
Yep.
No one to throw in, like having that extra. We'll probably be done in 20 minutes. So have a think about the Batwing, and we'll be back in a second.
If you guys are ready to go to Halloween Horror Nights or just a wonderful trip at Universal or anywhere, your team at Mouse and Muggle Travel Company would love to help you. So just send us an email to info@mouseandmuggle.com and we'd be glad to help you go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, and we are now going on to talk about the second DC attraction that nearly came to Islands of Adventure.
We are. We are looking at what would have been the DC version of The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. It didn't have an actual title, but it would have been themed to the Man of Steel himself, Superman.
Just call it. See, what is... Because obviously you've got The Amazing Spider-Man, and it's like The Incredible Hulk, The Invincible Iron Man. The DC characters don't really have that, do they?
No.
Would you just call it Man of Steel?
Probably. Probably.
I don't understand what they would have done. So as we discussed earlier, the deal with DC Comics fell through, but as we saw with the Batwing, the rides were fully storyboarded and concept art was created. So if you go to Theme Park University, and again, I'll put the link in there, it was they actually did a series of, I think there was about 7 blog posts called The Islands of Adventure That Never Was. I think this was part 7. And all that artwork's there.
It's good as well.
It's very cartoony. So the Superman ride would have been very similar in concept to the Spider-Man ride that currently resides in Marvel Superhero Island. And there are elements of the Superman ride that actually did make it into its successor.
Okay.
The other 3D. For example, instead of entering the attraction via the Daily Bugle, you would have entered via the Daily Planet.
Well, that's a no-brainer, really.
Pretty much.
You know.
Once inside, guests would enter the lobby and see just how much the operation has grown since Clark Kent first started the Daily Planet.
Oh, started with it. He didn't start it.
He didn't start it.
No, he didn't. Inside the lobby, huge TV screens would have shown guests a live newsfeed from the Planet News Network, a branch of the Daily Planet newspaper. Once inside the briefing room, the editor-in-chief for the Planet, Perry White, would have welcomed guests via video wall, giving a brief history of the Daily Planet. Perry would inform guests about their latest venture, night tours of Metropolis aboard their news choppers. All right there, Lee? Choppers look very nice.
Shut up. At the load area, guests would load into 18-passenger vehicles that would look very similar to the scoop vehicles seen in The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, but a lot bigger. How many rows are there in Spider-Man? Is there 3?
Yes.
And how... 4, so that's 12. See, 12. So they'd be a lot bigger than the Spider-Man ones, which I wouldn't be averse to. It gets more people through, less lines.
Yeah. Now, in case you were wondering how a vehicle, just like the Spider-Man vehicle, was going to fit into a ride that we have already been told will take part in helicopters, well, once all guests are loaded into their pods, the pods will be loaded into the belly of the helicopter. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That made my brain stall. Whoa.
It's nearly as bad as Penguin.
Yeah. Via 3D projection screens and soon to be flying high over the city of Metropolis. Helicopter?
I don't understand how that would work. How your vehicle would get loaded into a helicopter, but it wouldn't.
Just screens, isn't it? And a bit of vibration as you get jiggled into the belly of the helicopter.
Very strange.
The telecopter.
Once loaded in the telecopter, guests would have been greeted by the pilot and photographer Jimmy Olsen, who is out to get his first big scoop. Scoop. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Then, from outside the chopper, this is as many ways we can say helicopter in this, we see Superman fly up to greet us and welcome us to Metropolis. And there he is. There's Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, there he is. However, as in every theme park attraction, something goes horribly wrong.
Of course it does.
As it happens, another Daily Planet helicopter, see, it's starting to roll off the tongue now.
Because it's cool.
That's a stretch. Is out on tour and has gotten wind of some commotion going on at the other side of Metropolis.
Superman hears about the commotion and shoots off. His cape a distant blur, and guests would find themselves flying through the skyscrapers of Metropolis in a race with the other chopper to get the big scoop. Now, does that mean... Well, no, because it's not a dueling thing, is it? That's not how that works. I suppose, again, it'd be screens.
Yeah. Suddenly, Perry White appears in the monitors to alert us that Lex Luthor has escaped from prison and is on a rampage to destroy Metropolis. His first stop, an oil refinery, and he is already causing damage there. Meaning, as in all Universal attractions, guests would encounter fire and explosions.
Well, of course. You'd have to.
Yeah.
Now, as guests approach the refinery in the telecopter, a news report is beamed in live via the ride's vehicle monitors. This will be the first time we meet Lois Lane. However, Lex Luthor has surrounded Lois in a wall of flames, and so, to rescue her, our chopper has to dive right in and rescue her from certain doom.
Once the chopper settles down close enough to Lois to have her come aboard and save her life, an enormous fiery explosion knocks our vehicle back, leaving us staring at the wall of flames and no Lois. Just when you think all is lost, Superman emerges from the fire, creating a huge cyclone.
Of course he does.
Of course.
Now Superman swoops in and scoops her up into his arms and flies her out of danger.
A swoop and scoop.
Even though the oil refinery is history, Lois will live to see another day and find more scrapes to get herself into. Theme Park University on their blog then asked, want to know what happens next? Us too. We don't have all the answers for this great unrealised attraction. However, what we can tell you is the finale sequence features Lex Luthor flying around Metropolis in his own winged killing machine, and looking at that concept art, it looks friggin' massive.
Yeah. And rather cool, actually.
It looks weird. It's like a big robot-y thing.
Yeah, pretty cool. As your telechopper arrives, you see the pod of other guests being ejected from the sister ship in order to save them before Lex blasts them to smithereens. If there's one thing we know about Superman, it's that the guy can't let 18 tourists just fall out of a helicopter onto the street of Metropolis without swooping in and saving the day.
Again, as we know, this attraction and the DC land as a whole was never built.
Well, yeah.
And they ended up going with Marvel in the end. But would these two attractions... Right. Do you think would you have rather had them than what we currently have? Knowing how much bigger DC fans we are than Marvel fans, going off what we've just read out there.
Right. Well, Superman, Spider-Man. As a kid, I was Superman. Huge Superman fan. I was aware of Spider-Man. I watched Spider-Man as I was older, but from being a small child, it was Superman all the way. So, but now having experienced Spider-Man, it's hard to kind of... Because I love Spider-Man. But Superman? I do like Superman. Probably more than Spider-Man, if I'm honest. So I think I'd have preferred Superman.
You would have rather had that attraction than the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man?
If I'd been given the choice before they were both built, probably.
No, I'm talking about now.
Now? That's difficult because
No,
I've
it's not.
experienced one and not the other.
But you've just read what that would have been.
Yeah, it's just Spider-Man, but with Superman instead.
It's not really.
It is,
Now answer the other one. Would you rather have the Hulk that's just an unthemed, well, a kind of unthemed coaster, or something that's a bit more themed to Batman going through short
cool
buildings and all
coaster.
the rest of it? And the Penguin.
I don't know, because I'm... You know how much of a fan of Batman I am.
Right. Shall I sway your decision slightly?
Try.
So I was thinking about these two attractions, and I actually think they got them the wrong way around.
Right.
Because I actually think a coaster would be much better themed to
I'm with you.
Superman, and Batman makes a much better 3D attraction.
Yeah.
So you imagine
You're in the Batmobile.
The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man as the Dark Knight,
Yep.
and the Hulk coaster as a Superman attraction. Works much, much better because a flying attraction in a 3D...
With a flying superhero?
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know a lot of Spider-Man is where you are flying around. Well, the sort of last section of it is where you are flying around New York. I had to think where Spider-Man was set there. But it's worked...
swinging because
you've worked in the storyline that Doc Ock's got the anti-gravity gun, so it works.
Yeah.
So it's only that last sort of 2 or 3 screens worth where the rest of it isn't. Whereas going off that Superman attraction, all of it takes place in the sky, and it just doesn't make sense. You're really forcing the vehicle issue to put your vehicle inside a helicopter just to make it fit, whereas in Spider-Man, it fits already.
Yeah.
Whereas you could do Batman the same, and the only issue with that over Spider-Man is you haven't got a news outlet. You'd have to figure some way for you to be there, because that makes sense. The Superman one, because obviously with the Daily Planet. The Spider-Man one makes sense because you're out for the Daily Bugle. That's the only thing you'd have to try and figure out.
The Gotham Gazette?
Could you be... Yeah, but who knows about the... It wasn't actually until I read Court of Owls recently that I even knew there was a Gotham Gazette.
There's a Gotham Gazette. I just made that up. Okay. I'm so good.
But it's not a big part of Batman like the Daily Bugle is for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I nearly said the Daily Prophet there. The Daily Planet for Superman. But I think, like, you look at Spider-Man and it's Spider-Man against, like, how many is there? 5 or 6?
Yeah.
And it makes more sense to do a Batman attraction with the Joker, the Riddler, Catwoman. You could throw
Poison Ivy
tons in there. Whereas that
Freeze.
that Superman one really feels like a stretch. Whereas it would fit much more into doing a themed coaster over it.
Yeah, because a flying coaster, flying superhero.
It makes much more sense.
It does.
And do an inverted coaster rather than an on-the-track coaster. For Superman, do a flying coaster. It's something Universal don't actually have, because what would feel more like Superman than being in like a Manta style track, because everyone would be riding it with their arm in the Superman pose. It would be awesome.
Well, yeah. What did they rename Air?
Galactica. Apparently it's gone back to Air now.
That sort of ride, ideal.
Yeah, well, that's why I said Manta, but somewhere in between intensity level.
Yeah.
But then they still could have done it, because you look at the original concept for the Hulk, that it was going to be Silver Surfer with the coaster was going to go through a big projection dome at some point, so you still could have had show scenes in it. It was funny how they ended up going with something that has nothing.
Yeah.
Literally that opening launch tunnel scene, and then no other theming elements whatsoever. Yet you look at the original concept for the Silver Surfer, and then what this would have been as a Batman attraction with all the theming, and it ended up being nothing.
Yeah.
But I think they got them the wrong way around. I think it makes much more sense to have had Superman as the coaster and Batman as the 3D attraction. Because you could still enter through. You could be riding along with Nightwing or Robin or...
Well, to be honest, you were saying there that you'd need some sort of newspaper building. Why would you?
You need to be part of the stuff. That's the thing about them.
So why just enter in GCPD or something like that instead?
I think your easy way to do it, going off what they did with Transformers, is to be going along
with ride along.
Robin.
Yeah. And they could have started off with the Batmobile, and then as things progressed, they could have upgraded it to even the Tumbler, because you'd have wet yourself.
But it wouldn't have been. Oh, you mean like when they redid things? Yeah.
Bring it up to date a bit more.
Because that Tim Burton, well, you didn't have Robin. That's where your issue comes, because Robin wasn't in the Tim Burton films.
No, we just have to ride along with Batman then.
I don't think he doesn't deal. He doesn't have people in his life.
Well, they'd be grumpy and there'll be lots of jokes because of it.
Maybe you could be with Alfred then.
What, in the roles?
Why not? Come on, everyone, we're going out to see Batman in the Rolls Royce.
You're kind of losing me now.
It makes much more sense that way around, though, to have a rogues gallery of Batman villains in a 3D attraction than it would to have Superman and literally Lex Luthor. There's only the one. It sounded like that attraction actually sounded really boring.
It wasn't fully fleshed out.
But it was how much flesh, because the only interaction you have with the villain is right at the end. So you get in a helicopter, Superman flies up, something's going on over there, you fly over there, Lex Luthor, flames, big battle, that's it, done. Everything leading up to that oil refinery is just boring.
Okay.
Do you not think?
Well, you haven't experienced it, so I'm kind of like, you can't really say.
You look like, for all I think Spider-Man has a lot more downtime than something like Transformers, there's not a lot. Once he jumps down on the front of the car, everything happens. There's villains all the way through it. Whereas that's literally you just going from there to get to one, and then the thing at the end, and that's it. Because for all you, like everyone knows Superman. How many Superman villains can you name?
I've forgotten his name. Zod. Okay. And his cohorts.
Right.
And
Lex Luthor.
Yeah. And what's his name?
Exactly.
With the big computer. I'm bad with names anyway.
That was Lex Luthor.
It was Lex Luthor, was he?
But that's it.
And
it would need to be...
Well, it's more than 2 films.
Yeah, but this is where...
Thomas, help me out.
You throw Batman into it, and you could have any random person sit there and rattle off half a dozen without really thinking about it. So it makes much more sense for The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man to have been a Batman attraction.
Yeah.
Because your Joker would have been Doc Ock.
Uh-huh.
And then you throw in whoever you want. It would have been I think it would have been awesome. Right, because even that Batwing attraction there was all right.
I like the idea of it going in and out of buildings and being able to fire at other vehicles.
Yeah, that would be cool. I can't believe no one's ever done that. Like a Toy Story Mania, Men in Black. But
yeah, but how would that work? Because at that time it would have had to have been something physical that was being fired out.
Not necessarily.
Are you just talking like lights and pew 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 sounds?
Well, Men in Black. When did Men in Black open?
I don't know. Weren't there?
7 or 9, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a slow moving thing. This is going to be faster moving.
What do you think they were shooting out? What do you think they would have been shooting out, really? They wouldn't have actually been shooting things out. So it still would have been infrared.
Yeah, but in this day and age, technology's moved on so much that they'll be able to tell you where you hit and everything like that. Don't know whether they would have been able to then.
So what was the point in it?
Exactly, that's why it didn't happen.
Well, no, it didn't happen because DC never signed the deal with them and they went down Marvel. But yeah, I don't see how that would have worked in the end. Like, how you would have... Would it not have been... Would it have been random then? If you hadn't have even bothered touching the triggers, would it have still all gone off?
Who knows?
You know, like Mission Space, if you don't press the buttons, it still happens the way it's supposed to happen.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert.
Who knows?
I hate to say it, but I'm much happier with what we got.
Oh, I love what we've got. I love Marvel Superhero Island.
And I'm a massive DC fan, but I want a decent Batman Superman attraction. And no offence, they weren't.
No.
But then again, that was...
No, but it's given us thought for how it could have been done. I think you're right that switching would have been better.
I think it's difficult to build attractions off comic book stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, what are you theming to?
You've already got preconceived ideas.
Not even that. It's
People have expectations.
like Marvel Superhero Island's based off. They say the comics, but you look at the queue for Spider-Man and it's like the 19s TV series. But then you've had the Tobey Maguire ones, and then you've got new Spider-Man cartoons, and then you've got Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and now you've got Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and it doesn't matter what you do with them, there's going to be a disconnect because they redo them so often. So it's like with the same, if you did a Batman attraction, is it Michael Keaton Batman? Is it Val Kilmer Batman?
Yeah.
Is it
George Clooney?
Yeah, or Christian Bale, or Ben Affleck, or
Whoever's
Robert
next.
Pattinson. Do you know what I mean? There's
I
going
don't
to be
like
a
Batman
disconnect.
anymore.
Shut up. There's going to be a disconnect, whatever you do.
That is a big disconnect for me.
Well, until you see him, you can't
I won't be
judge.
seeing him.
You will
I
be.
won't.
Well,
You can go by yourself and boycott it.
You're
Can't
not.
stand him. Sorry if you're listening.
There is another attraction. It was like a Joker's fun house or something. We'll probably get to that at some point. But as I said, we were supposed to be covering Doctor Doom and The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, but Darren, Chris, Anna, you saw me and Tracy thought we'd rattle this out.
This
and it's
bit of crap.
yeah, they wouldn't have been great attractions, I don't think.
No. But I would like to see something Superman more than what there is.
I'm surprised nobody has tried to, because you're getting to a point, we kind of discussed it with Halloween Horror Nights last week, you're getting to a point where the pot to take things out of as far as franchises and stuff goes getting smaller and smaller, especially, like how many times have we commented over the last 6 months that there's no new stuff getting made. It's reboots, it's remakes, it's sequels, it's adaptations of books. There's nothing new being made anymore. And for theme parks, looking, especially like Universal, that are based on IPs, you're struggling to find stuff that Disney doesn't own or that is fresh and new.
Yep.
So it's going to be very interesting to see where theme parks go, because I think the days of theme park lands being based on non-IPs, I think they're done. As far as like a Disney or a Universal, I think they're done. I don't think you're going to see it anymore.
No, maybe not.
That was the last unthemed, like un-IP attraction or land that we saw get built in a theme park. It's got to be Expedition Everest over at Animal Kingdom, which was 2006 or 7.
Wow, is it that long?
Like 12 years ago. Look at everything that's been built since.
Yep.
You know, it's Toy Story Land, it's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, it's the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, it's
Sesame Street.
Yeah, Sesame. Well, yeah, even SeaWorld are getting in on it.
Yep.
Fast and Furious, Skull Island, everything that's coming into, or what we expect to be going into Fantastic Worlds. It's DreamWorks, it's Nintendo, it's Universal Monsters, it's Fantastic Beasts. Nothing. It's all about easy marketing now.
Yeah.
And it's sad, in a way.
It is, in a way, but it's also exciting because worlds are coming to life for people.
Yeah. You know, when I can step foot in Hogsmeade and it literally bring me to tears is amazing. But, just...
Life moves on.
So it would be
People's
interesting
wants and needs move on.
to see if Warner Brothers, like DC stuff, ever does come to a theme park. I think they need to establish what the hell they're doing with the films before we get down that route, because I think they're in such flux at the moment. Even they don't know what they're doing. But there you go. Right, that's going to wrap up this episode. I think we've managed to waffle enough about two khaki attractions that nearly were but weren't. As I said, I will put a link to the Theme Park University articles that we got these from. But again, don't forget, tickets are available for the Weekender. They are available at uuoptheweekender.eventbrite.com. Send in your Universal short outros for us to podcast at UUO Podcast. If you didn't hear last week or you missed it, we want people to submit the answer to the question Universal is in 3 words or less, and that's going to be the outro of our show. So that's going to wrap up this episode.
Yep.
So for Tracy and the absent Chris and Darren, I have been Lee, and we will see you back here for more Universal goodness next week.
Cut, print. That's a wrap for another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.